Ladies and gentlemen, it is my utmost honor to welcome to all to the Representation Office of the Turkey Council at the historic Ip Villa, where we celebrate the 880th anniversary of birth of the great Azerbaijani poet and thinker Nizami Ganjavi. We are especially privileged to be hosting Her Excellency, Madam Speaker, in our representation office, who despite her busy schedule has honored us by taking part in our event within the framework of her official visit to Hungary. Hoş gelmişsiniz. Hungary has always felt close at heart with the Turkic world and endeavor to seek closer ties, which can also be observed in the writing of the prominent Hungarian Turkologist. The labor of hard work came into fruition when Hungary was welcomed as an observer state in the Turkic Council on the 3rd of September 2018. The historic moment also paved the way the establishment of the Representation Office, which is tasked to facilitate to further develop cooperation between Hungary and the Turkic-speaking states, institutional mechanism with Visegrad Group and the European Union. More importantly, this Representation Office bears the distinct function in reviving and promoting the Hungarian and Turkic heritage in the European continent. Considering the significance of this commemoration being the first live event of our Representation Office in the post-pandemic period. Thank you very much for the participation and the possibility. I am confident that Nizami's timeless work will inspire a generation of scholars in Hungary for the years to come. Bearing this in mind, our program will include presentations by eminent Turkologists on the literary work and legacy of Nizami Ganjavi from the Hungarian perspectives. May I ask the Deputy Secretary of the Foreign Minister's Trade to say a few words. András, please. The floor is yours.
Madam Speaker, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you here in Budapest on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary and on behalf of the Hungarian host as well. It's a great pleasure to see you here, Speaker of the Parliament of a brotherly Azerbaijani nation. It's always a great pleasure to welcome representatives and leaders of our brotherly nations. Azerbaijan is one of our key partner countries, actually is a strategic partner in the South Caucasus region, and through the Cooperation Council of Turkic-speaking countries, we are now together as a family of close nations sharing the same historical and cultural heritage. And that's why it's a special pleasure to welcome you here in the Budapest Representation Office of the Turkic Council. I would add from myself that now you have two representations of Azerbaijan here in Budapest, your embassy, and of course the Representation Office of Turkic Council. It's a great pleasure that you have delegated your representative who is working together with representatives and delegates of all the other Turkic-speaking countries, member states. And it's a great pleasure that actually a host country agreement between Hungary and the Turkic Council was signed during the Turkic Council summit in Baku in 2019. And I had a pleasure to be present there. So this is a symbolic and also a practical premises. I wish you a pleasant and fruitful stay here in Hungary. I wish you a very successful visit to Budapest. And most of all, I wish you very successful and fruitful negotiations, conversation with Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who is going to welcome you right after our event here. So once again, welcome. We look forward to continue our very good cooperation and partnership with Azerbaijan, both on bilateral level and on multilateral level on the basis of the Turkic Council and also Turkpa, which was actually the very first organization of the Turkic-speaking countries. Hungary had opportunity to join as observer. So once again, welcome, and I wish you a very fruitful stay here in Budapest. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Deputy State Secretary, thank you very much. Your words and your good wishes for the cooperation between the Turkic Council and Hungary and the Turkic-speaking states. And may I ask Her Excellency, Madam Speaker, to address us.
Honorable Head of Office, dear representatives of the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs, dear ambassadors of Turkey and Kazakhstan, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to underline that I am delighted to be here today with you and have this speech. The office of the Turkic Council in Budapest, in my opinion, symbolizes the deep and historical roots that unite us. In another world, uniting Turkic world and Hungarians. It is indeed a great honor to see how the Hungarians admit with pride their eastern regions. A decision of the Hungarian government to further integrate into the Turkic world might be considered a clear indicator of this pride. I think the fact that the Hungarian government applied for an observer status in the Turkic Council in Cholpon-Ata summit on September 3, 2018 speaks for itself. No doubt that all the member states highly welcomed this initiative. And today we are happy and pleased to see Hungary as an observer among the members of the Turkic Council. Today, both Hungary and Turkic states are making their efforts to deepen the existing cooperation. Hungary has been admitted to the Turkic Council just 3 years ago, and since then, a lot of steps have been taken on boosting ties. In this regard, I would like to underline the fact that relations between Hungary and other member states of Turkic Council have been raised to the level of strategic partnership. And today, Hungary has a clear priority of having a diplomatic mission in each country. It is commendable that Hungary and Uzbekistan have recently signed a declaration on strategic partnership. Another important event that took place recently was the opening of the Hungarian embassy in Kyrgyzstan. Dear friends, no doubt that enhancement of political ties between Hungary and Turkic countries is positively affecting other spheres as well. Economy is one of these spheres where mutual efforts and willingness by the governments of Turkic Council member states have already brought tangible consequences. As we all know, last year the world economy was challenged by global pandemic. However, regardless the 9% decline of the global trade, the trade volume between Hungary and other members of the Council has increased by 3%. Another sphere that I would like to draw the attention to is the ever-enhancing collaboration in the field of education. Exchange of students is one of the most brilliant examples of people-to-people contact between our nations. As Speaker of Azerbaijan, I am pleased to see that the number of students from our country willing to continue their education in friendly Hungary is increasing year by year. The figure of applicants for 2020 and 2021 was about 1,000. In January this year, a new memorandum of understanding was signed between the Minister of Education of Azerbaijan and Minister of Foreign Resources of Hungary. What I see here today is, I think, another brilliant example of people-to-people contact between us. All the member states of the Council have delegated their representatives to Budapest, to this wonderful representation office of Turkic Council. and representatives who are coming from Azerbaijan, Turkey, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan play an important role together with their colleague from Hungary in intensifying this people-to-people contact. Dear participants, today Turkey Council is working on building strategic vision. In this context, Turkey World Vision 2040 is important. It constitutes a roadmap that we are going to pass through in order to have better foreign policy coordination, stronger security cooperation, signing agreements on free trade between us, having open borders for transportation, and of course, deeper cooperation in the field of the language and alphabet. These areas will bring us closer than ever and foster integration processes between our countries. By having common policies and better coordination in various fields, we can shape a brighter future of the Turkic world. And no doubt that particular focus should be put on strengthening economic ties. Ladies and gentlemen, we also to recall the ongoing process on building the Turkic Investment Fund. This fund will be very important and, in my opinion, effective financial instrument in providing support to our small and medium businesses. I do appreciate the Hungarian determination on joining the Turkic Investment Fund, and I am pleased to recall Prime Minister Orban's confirmation in his speech at the video conference at the informal summit of the Cooperation Council of Turkic-speaking states on March 31 this year. Mr. Orban clearly expressed that Hungary is well intended to join the Turkic Investment Fund and contribute to it for creating a financial background to development projects. Financial sustainability for development projects is very much important since it is creating favorable conditions for trade and investment, and aiming for comprehensive and balanced economic growth are among the major objectives of the Turkic Council. And we need to put our efforts together for obtaining these objectives in the nearest future. Dear friends, another important objective we have defined for us is coordinating our actions to combat international terrorism, separatism, extremism, and transborder crimes. In this sense, we appreciate the support given by member states in our recent 44 patriotic war against the Armenian separatism. As it is well known, we had been suffering from the 30 years long occupation of our territories by Armenia. Today, the Armenian occupation is not the case anymore. Last year, Azerbaijan, by its military political means, put an end to this occupation. Unfortunately, the United Nations Security Council 4 resolutions demanding immediate, full, and unconditional withdrawal of Armenian troops from occupied territories of Azerbaijan remained on paper for 3 decades. Can you imagine? 3 decades, it was only on the papers. And finally, Azerbaijan ensured the implementation of the United Nations resolutions by itself and restored its territorial integrity. In the 44-day patriotic war, Azerbaijan fully liberated historical Azerbaijani lands on Karabakh and forced Armenia to sign an act of capitulation on 10 November 2020. Using this opportunity, dear participants, dear colleagues, dear friends, I would like to express the sincere gratitude on my own behalf and on behalf of the Milli Majlis of Azerbaijan to the governments and people of the member states of Turkic Council for the support of just and fair position of Azerbaijan in its war against aggression and occupation. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to state that it is much welcoming that our countries managed to establish the parliamentary dimension of the Turkic unity. Parliamentary Assembly of Turkic-speaking countries, Turkpan, is of utmost importance for deepening the existing collaboration between our people. I feel honored to chair currently Turkpan, and I am determined to continue putting my efforts as a speaker of the Milli Majlis of Azerbaijan for taking the integration processes further. Hungary enjoys the observer status in Turkba since 2014, and I am confident that deep integration with Turkba will also bring our peoples closer. I remember my meeting in my capacity as a Turkba chair with Mr. Baghdad Amreev, Secretary General of the Turkey Council this year, where we had detailed discussions about the future activities of Turkey Council. And I would like to underline that we are well pleased of new requests that are coming from other countries for being part of the Turkey Council. As much as I know, more than 10 partners have expressed their intentions and wish to have observer status in our organizations. For time being, we have only one observer country, which is Hungary, your native country, beautiful country. In the future, I have no doubt that the Council will have more observers. And given the fact that there are enough Turkic-speaking nations enjoying autonomy within various countries, observer status within the Council is getting more significance. Dear friends, as a conclusion of my speech, I once again would like to extend my sincere gratitude for inviting me and our delegation here. And I believe that we shall enjoy a beautiful program organized here today, in particular, the commemoration of our well-known poet, Nizami Ganjavi, in the year of 2021, a year which has been announced by the President Ilham Aliyev as a year of Nizami. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and I would express the gratitude of the Turkey Council, our Secretary General, for the support of what you gave us to the Turkey Council, and congratulations for the parliamentary cooperation. You are chairing it, and I wish you all the best for it. But we should turn our meeting to Nizami Ganjavi. And may I ask Mrs. Laura Pál. Laura, she's an excellent Turkologist in Hungary. Come here, Laura, come here. Laura will speak about a very interesting plan in Hungary related to Nizami Ganjavi. Laura, the floor is yours.
Her Excellency, Madam Speaker Sahiba Jafarova, dear honorable guests, I have the pleasure to give you a short information on the forthcoming publishing of an important work about Nizami in Hungarian language in this year. Since 2021 was declared as the year of Nizami Ganjavi in Azerbaijan, upon the initiative of Ambassador Mr. Vilayet Guliev and the Embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan in Hungary, the valuable work of Mehmed Emin Rasulzade will be translated into Hungarian. The book titled Great Azerbaijani Poet Nizami was first published in Ankara in 1951 on the occasion of the 800th anniversary of the birth of Nizami Ganjavi. This book, which is about 400 pages, will be the most extensive study in Hungarian language on the art of Nizami. This work will be another great proof for the fact that Azerbaijan has a rich literature and the Azerbaijan nation can be proud of its writers. The author of this work, Mehmed Emin Rasulzade, was an Azerbaijani scholar and for a while the head of the Azerbaijani National Council. As for his book named Great Azerbaijani Poet Nizami, it provides a deep knowledge about all the fields of his poetry. It also gives a great analysis of the main topics of his poems. The study deals with Nizami's personal relations with the governors of Azerbaijan, the place of Nizami in the world literature, the value of his main works, especially of his best-known 5 books, Die Maghzenül Esrar, Hüsrev and Shirin, Leyla and Mejnun, Heftpeker, and Iskendername. This Nizami book also provides information on some rather interesting topics, such as the role and influence of Persian, Turkish, and Russian culture in the art and poetry of Nizami. Furthermore, the book includes a chapter regarding the descriptions of women's figures in Nizami's poetry, as well as the main source of the art of Nizami, the philosophy of love and the Turkish words in his poems. The book is illustrated with very nice colorful miniatures and pictures. So the Hungarian translation of the book is planned to be published in the autumn of this year, hoping that it will contribute to the publicity of Azerbaijani culture and literature among Hungarian people. Thank you very much.
Laura, thank you very much, and we hope so we could present the book that in this year, in this building. So thank you very much for your work. Laura is an excellent translator from Turkish, and she speaks Azerbaijani also. And may I ask Professor Benedek Péri, the head of the Turkish department of the Ötvös University, to say a few words of Nizami connections with Hungary. The professor, please.
Honorable Madam Speaker, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends. The classical poetical tradition, Divan Edebiyatı in Turkish, is a complex system that, regardless of the language used as a literary medium, provides authors with a solid basis and a wide space for poetic creativity. The history of this tradition is marked by the oeuvre of a great number of outstanding poets who, though coming from diverse ethnic backgrounds, relied on the same poetic framework and more or less on the same mundus significans, signifying universe, to demonstrate their poetic talent and professional skills. One of the exceptional and remarkable characters of the classical poetical tradition was Nizami Ganjavi, whose poetry set the course for future generations of poets and whose poetic texts have exerted an enormous influence on both authors and their audiences for many centuries. As much has been written on the life and works of Nizami Ganjavi, this paper doesn't wish to repeat well-known facts. Rather, it aims at showing how Nizami's deep influence is reflected by manuscripts preserved in the library of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. Nizami was a pioneering poet on the field of narrative poetry, whose works were much copied in a wide geographic area that once extended from Ottoman-occupied Hungary to the Bay of Bengal in India. There are 4 manuscripts of Nizami's works in the holdings of the Oriental collection. 3 of these manuscripts were part of the bequest. Bequest of Sándor Alexander Kegel, who purchased his manuscripts mainly through booksellers in London and Paris. Kegel's manuscripts are mostly from India, and thus his 3 Nizami manuscripts represent the Indian Nizami manuscript tradition. Kegel had 2 copies of Nizami's Khosrow Shirin. This romantic narrative poem, Masnavi, relates the love story of King Khosrow Parviz and the lovely princess Shirin. The work was composed between 1177 and 1181 in the meter of Khazaji Musaddasi Mahzuf. Manuscript Persia 073, this is the manuscript, was finished by a copyist called Arab in the northern city of Lahore, now belonging to Pakistan, in 1242, that is 1826. Manuscript Persia 058 was finished a couple of years later in 1255, that is in 1839. Though the colophon doesn't give the name of the copyist and the place of copying, the style of handwriting suggests that it was also copied somewhere in India. The Sharafname Iskandari, Iskandar's Book of Honor, is a narrative poem on the life and deeds of Alexander the Great, composed in the meter of Mutakarab Musamman Mahzuf. Kegel's copy of the text was finished by Nur Muhammad Gauhar Tahura on the 7th of Shawwal, 1074, that is the 3rd of May, 1664. Though the colophon doesn't mention the place of copying, the style of handwriting suggests that it was also copied in India. The 5 Masnavis composed by Nizami, I'm sorry, I made some mistake, yeah. The 5 Masnavis composed by Nizami are part of a collection of 5 narrative poems, the Hamsa quintet. There is one copy of Nizami's Hamsa in the Oriental collection. The copy was prepared on the order of a Muhammad Karim Khan, who is possibly identical with the Zand ruler ruling over Iran between 1751 and 1779. The volume has an exquisite lacquer binding, you can see here, and like many of manuscripts of Nizami's works, this copy is also illustrated. Nizami's texts were not only extensively copied, they were also often imitated, and during the history of the classical poetical tradition, they served as models to many poets. There are several works in the Oriental collection that were meant as poetic replies to Nizami's narrative poems. Amir Khosrow Dehlavi, an outstanding Indian poet of Central Asian Turkic origin, composed his narrative poem titled Hasht Behisht, 8 Heavens, in response to Nizami's Haft Paikar, 7 Beauties, manuscript Persia 071, which was part of the Kegel bequest, was finished by an unnamed author, an unnamed scribe in 990, which is 1582 at an unnamed place. Kegel had another manuscript of the same work, Persia 65, that was copied in 18th century India, perhaps on the order of Fanny Birch, a British lady, the wife of a high-ranking British administrator. In the wake of Nizami, Amir Khosrow also compiled the Hamsa, a collection of 5 narrative poems, and Kegel had a copy of it. The manuscript, Persia 079, is undated, and perhaps it was copied somewhere in India. The earliest poetic reply to Nizami's poetic narrative on Alexander, written in Anatolia, was composed by Ahmedi in 1390. This text became quite fashionable in the Ottoman Empire, and many copies were produced. Its popularity is very affected by the fact that 6 copies of it are kept at the Oriental collection, the earliest of which was finished by Ahmed bin Yusuf al-Kasrawi in 897, according to the Hijra. There's an illustrated copy among the Oriental collections. Iskendernames, manuscript Turek 083, is an exquisite 16th century copy that was embellished with 10 miniature paintings. An early 15th century poetic reply to Nizami's Makhzanul Israr, the Treasury of Secrets, his first poem in his Hamsa, which is a Masnavi on ethical issues, is Haydar Khwarazmi's Gulshanul Asrar, the Rose Garden of Secrets, dedicated to a Timurid Prince Sultan Iskandar Mirza. The work was composed sometime around 1513 in Chagatai Turkish. The Budapest copy, Persia 081, was prepared in the 16th century, and the Azeri phonetic characteristic of the Turkic text suggests that it was copied somewhere in Greater Azerbaijan. As several its pages indicate, the text, like many other manuscripts belonging to the wider Nizami manuscript tradition, was scheduled to be illustrated. The paintings, however, were never prepared. I prepared an edition of this text last year.